Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now January 6th of 2022, and as we approach the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 3, which is going to debut next Wednesday, a lot of Star Wars fans are also getting very much ready for the marketing run of the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, which is going to begin by this March to really ramp up the overall hype of the series and exactly what's to come on Disney Plus by George, Jon, and Dave. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, I am on Twitter at Mike01 if you guys want to go ahead and give me a follow on there. I do post a couple of entertaining things from time to time and really make sure to interact with you guys further. So we're now in a very interesting time of Star Wars. I mean, we really are in the golden age of Star Wars so far. The Book of Boba Fett Chapters 1 and 2 have been pretty impressive. I know some fans have had a little bit of a mixed reaction on the first episode, but episode 2 really sold me, I will say. You know, everything ranging from, Boba Fett's journey in the very beginning of chapter 1 to what he does in the second episode. I'm not going to give anything away. But overall, when we actually dive into what George, Jon, and Dave have planned, we already know that they are going to be incorporating tons of Star Wars legends mixed in with the new to really embrace the new Star Wars universe and to really kind of give us those characters that we all know and love, like Mara Jade, Kyle Katarn, and others out there. In fact, there was a very special cameo in Chapter 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. Not a big cameo per se, but a very special one that takes a lot of paying attention to, and I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. So, on top of all of this, alright, we already know that George, Jon, and Dave have been really having quite a ride with all these new shows. Kathleen Kennedy, on the other end, is having a lot of issues with the Acolyte TV series. And speaking about Kathleen Kennedy, that brings us to the subject today. Alright, so now that both Disney and Lucasfilm are focused on their new Star Wars TV shows like Ahsoka and Kenobi, creators Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are beginning to apply some major changes to the Star Wars world behind the scenes. Now further, it's noted that Disney CEO Bob Chapek is already creating a big plan to bring in a new Lucasfilm president by the end of 2022, well ahead of when Kathleen Kennedy is supposed to leave from the company. However, Kathleen Kennedy is described to have a big plan of hers in place where she is set to get fired or leave on her own. In any scenario, if that happens, Kennedy is described to already be well into the process of creating her own production company that is going to focus on creating her own new franchise that will become a competitor to the Star Wars universe. Now, on top of this, it's noted that Kennedy has been pre-planning her new company for about 2 years now, since 2019, that is simply dubbed as Starlight Productions, a production that will focus strictly on science fiction movies and TV shows that will allow new creators to tell their own stories the way that they want to. So let me just stop right here. Now, the thing about this, we talked about this in early 2020, about Kathleen Kennedy forming her own company. This has been a long-going thing that Kennedy has been trying to do on and off. And you know what? I think that this is going to create a lot more problems for a lot of fans out there of the Star Wars world. Yes, we will finally have, no more Kathleen Kennedy, moments where she intrudes many of the Star Wars TV shows, but what she's now trying to do, and this kind of gets on my nerves a bit, what she's trying to do is that she's trying to create her own science fiction production company to create a competitor against Star Wars. And that, to me, I think tells us everything that we need to have known for the past number of years now, is that Kathleen Kennedy really never cared about the true hardcore Star Wars fans. She only really cared about creating her own fans. And it makes a lot of sense now, because when we go back to that quote, a couple of years ago, of what she said of how there is no source material when it comes to Star Wars legends. There's no books, novels, and comics to pull from to use in the new movies or the TV shows, and there's absolutely none that exist. That's what Kathleen Kennedy said. That's what she was trying to pretty much, sell to the new Star Wars fans, or even to the casual fans out there that may not know all that much about Legends, and kind of just brushing that off of her shoulder. So, creating this new company, Starlight Productions, to me it really sounds very, very desperate. It comes off as very petty in a sense, but it is her way to create her own fan base, and that seems to be her ego-driven attitude. Now, Kennedy is also described to be pre-planning her own stories the way that they want to, of course. Kennedy is also described to be doing this and something, but when her time comes, of course, in any scenario, to transfer many Lucasfilm employees that support her to bring them over to Starlight in order to focus on a brand new franchise that she wants to make bigger than Star Wars. This is something that Kennedy has been very ambitious about since 2019, when Episode 9 came to an official end, and that she is getting ready to unveil her plans to everyone around the globe by the beginning of 2023. Now, with Bob Chapek still in the process of firing Kathleen Kennedy by the end of this year to look for a new Lucasfilm president, Kennedy is said to be very well aware of what Bob Chapek has been pre-planning with the Disney higher-ups. So, here is the thing that I think a lot of fans need to be aware of, is that this company of hers is also going to be a conduit, in a sense, for herself to transfer many of the Lucasfilm employees over to this studio, ones that particularly follow her and support her. We're talking about people like Rian Johnson, we're going to get into that in just a second, Leslie Headland, or Freddie Prinze Jr., or anybody like that over at Lucasfilm she wants to bring over to her company. This comes off as very desperate, I gotta say. It comes off as very much like she never liked the Star Wars fans. So, moving beyond this is said to be Kennedy's way to expand her legacy within Hollywood, and that she has no plans in order to retire anytime soon from the film industry. This new production company will also focus on bringing in writer Leslie Headland of the Acolyte series. She also plans on using director Rian Johnson and others to join her company in the future to focus on these science fiction stories that will release both in theaters and on television. Kennedy's plan for Starlight is essentially her backup plan if she is cast out from Lucasfilm eventually, so that she can tell her own stories. She has also started developing this company after Episode 9, given that she lost most of her creative power over at Lucasfilm in 2020, which took away the fun for her. With Kennedy now focused on creating this new company in the Acolyte TV series for Lucasfilm, Bob Chapek has been looking at many candidates to take over, including Kevin Feige as one example of many that he is looking at to become the new president. There are already plans for George Lucas to temporarily take over Lucasfilm in late 2022, where this is so that Lucas can actually make some of the key choices for the company moving forward as well. Now, let me just say one thing about all of this, because this is absolutely terrible in my opinion, the fact that Kennedy is trying to create a competitor against not just Lucasfilm, but also against the Star Wars franchise at its heart. Now, the thing that really is awful about this is that Kennedy would eventually leave Lucasfilm, but she would not be gone from the film industry. And that, I believe, is something that a lot of fans are still going to be annoyed over, because you're going to have these production, studios popping up that are going to fall in Kathleen Kennedy's path, essentially. We have this one studio that is dubbed Starlight that's going to create all these science fiction stories. Basically, you can see where this is all, coming from. We have seen Rian Johnson, for example, trying to create his own Star Wars trilogy. That fell apart, and that was all going to take place in a different galaxy. No Force, no Jedi, no Sith, no lightsabers. That was basically science fiction. Basically, at the very heart of it all, it was science fiction purely with the Star Wars label stamped on it. And those are the type of projects that Kathleen Kennedy is going to produce over at her company. Now, she can do what she wants to at her company, that's fine. But the problem that I have is the fact that this is so that she can create her own competitor against Star Wars, kind of trying to create something bigger than Star Wars, almost like she's trying to become the new George Lucas, and that just comes off as very petty in a sense. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.